Hello, my name's AD Bowen and I'm an art teacher here at Somerset Skills and Learning. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration about getting an image from what you're drawing down onto paper. Now, first off, like anything else, you need the correct materials. As a drawer, you don't just use one pencil, you use at least three. I've got here a HB, 2B and a 4B pencil. Each of these pencils has got a different job. The HB I call your planner. With that, you make fine, faint lines on your work, which are nice and easy to use as guidelines, but then can be ignored later on in your picture. Your 2B pencil is then what you call your drawer. It's not until you have all the guidelines on the page that you actually start thinking about what lines you want to pull out on your final drawing. It gives a darker, heavier mark, which is more seen, and it gives you more variety for when you want to do things like shading or move things forward. Your 4B pencil I call your finisher. This gives a darker, heavier line, and so it's really good for then lifting images off the page and giving it weight so they start looking really three-dimensional. Right, so those are your tools. What we're going to be doing is drawing a cup. Now, straight away, when you look at that cup, you might think that it's half as long as it is wide. You might not know exactly where the handles are, or there's any other features of that, which when your brain sees it, when your eye see it, your brain thinks about it and interprets it in one way. What we need to do is make sure we actually draw what we're seeing, not what we think our brain is actually seeing. So to do that, I'll use my pencil. What I'm going to be doing is lining up one aspect of this object against the other aspect to try and get the proportions right. For example, on here, I'll line up the end of my pencil against the edge of the cup and my finger or thumb against the other edge of the cup to let me know how wide that pencil is, sorry, how wide that cup is. I will then rotate that 90 degrees and then compare that distance across to how deep it is. And by that you can see that the cup is just slightly longer than it is wide. So then when I'm making my marks, I put a mark in that's so big, mark it off, and then when I transfer that across, I do that mark but make it slightly bigger. Now if you notice, I'm not dragging that information straight across here, because I might be, or I'm using the cup right now, but I might be drawing a church or a person or something bigger, and you don't want the scales to be there. So as long as my horizontal line is slightly longer than my vertical line, then I've got the proportions right. It doesn't matter if I'm drawing something this big, or this big, as long as I've got those proportions correctly put down on the page. So once I'm happy with those marks, you also notice I've drawn a line on the page here, which is a horizontal line to represent this. I'm aware that my cup is oval, but I want to measure the actual width of it. So once I'm happy with the width, and it's slightly longer, I've got myself a nice frame there to work with. I will then move up to my 2B pencil and start adding in some stronger lines that I know I'm comfortable and confident are going to be part of it. Now, the top of this cup as well is a circle. I know that because I dunked my biscuits in it and I've seen it. But it's only a circle if I'm looking right down on the top of it. From here, it's an ellipse. So that means that it's going to be wider than it is deep. To get that again, I'm using the same technique, but I have to now use my eye and measure. So I'm measuring from one part of the cup to the other, and then I'm going to compare that across. So from where I'm looking, that is how deep it is, and then it's 1, 2.5 wider. So if I put my marks in here, and I can measure 1, 2.5. So that's about right. I've got my marks in. I will then join those up with an ellipse. Now, one of the techniques of the ellipse, when you're drawing this way, it's quite easy to draw it because your hand is resting on the piece of paper. As soon as I come here, you see my hand is moving. So technique is to turn the page over. Then you've got your resting point again, and you can do those ellipses much more balanced. Like so. So I'm happy with that. Again, I can upgrade to my 2B pencil, get some more weight to those lines, and fill them in. The same with the bottom. Now, how ellipses work is with your eye level, everything will be straight. So again, even though I know that is a circle, if I lift it up to eye level, it then becomes straight. And the further down it goes, the more the ellipse will open up. The top of this cup and the bottom of the cup are obviously at different levels, but from this close, I know that my ellipse at the top will be about the same as my ellipse on the bottom. A lot of people want to do flat bottoms because they're thinking, well, when I put the cup down, it doesn't roll away, so it must have a flat bottom. But again, from where I'm seeing it, there's a definite ellipse. If I put this pencil there, you can see the pencil is the straight line, and the cup is curving away from that. So that's what we need to capture. So from this point here to this point here, I will take that measurement and add it to the bottom of the page. Turn the cup over again, turn the page over, and then draw my ellipse again from there. And to make sure I avoid pointy edges on my ellipse, I draw my ellipse from around the side first. So I'll give it a corner. Okay, so now I've got a cylinder, and I'm quite confident it's the same shape and size as this cylinder. But it's very two-dimensional right now. What else happens in the three-dimensional object is it has light fall on it, which creates shade. For light and shade, that's where your 2B and your 4B pencil come into effect.